Hello, everybody, and thank you for listening to another episode of the No Fluff MSP Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Taher Hamed. Got my co-host here.
Stephen Badorf. Welcome back.
The legend is back, Orf.
Staher.
Staher. Another shout out to Steve.
It's going by Steve Allen, yeah.
This is the Staher clan here, ready to do another podcast. A lot of cool stuff happening at MSP Camp. We hired our 5th employee, Sunny. She started, so it's officially Sunny at MSP Camp. It's always Sunny at MSP Camp.
You're never going to let that go.
No, I mean, I love it. When I typed her email into Office 365 when I was creating it, it was like Sunny at msp-camp.com. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So yeah, and I mean, honestly, pretty soon, probably by April or May, we're going to be looking for our 6th employee. Now, we have quite a few employees, or not employees, I guess full-time contractors in the Philippines as well. So that's where a lot of the graphic design, a lot of the custom illustrators, a lot of technical skills. I mean, I want to hire in the U.S. as much as possible, which is obviously why we have our 5th employee here in the U.S. We're going to have our 6th employee here in the U.S. But there is a ratio happening of here in the U.S. and a team in the Philippines, because at the end of the day, we're just finding excellent people in the Philippines that work really hard and are highly skilled. Like the illustrators on Steven's team are incredible.
Yeah, they're awesome. The whole design team, I love working with them.
Incredible. So, you know, we've kind of been doing both. The other thing I like is a lot of times, like, there's no security risk of a designer. They're designing a thing, right? Like, you know, it's not like, I know when I was at an MSP, we couldn't really hire we didn't do any offshore really, because it's like, yeah, you know, we're talking servers and cybersecurity and stuff. Like, we can't really have people from offshore in people's servers and
compared to a pretty picture that you can change.
Yeah, that clients don't even, like
within Canva hosted. Yeah,
exactly. So it's just kind of nice. It's really worked out really well. So just a quick update there. Super excited about it. There's a lot of really, really cool things happening. So thank you for listening. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. I mean, seriously, like the number of people we talk to that listen to the podcast and, you know, either like it or hate it, it's really great. Right. Mostly like it.
Let's do it.
All right. So let's get into the conversation today. Obviously, I had to make the title exciting because it is exciting, but I had to get you to click on it. And that is the $7,000 ChatGPT Lead. Now, this is a real story, and it's one of many that we've been seeing because obviously we have an SEO side of the business now. We have a whole SEO team. Genesis, who ran ScaleCon, runs that team. And we're seeing a lot of interesting stuff around general search, SEO, and the changing dynamic of search for MSPs.
Mm-hmm. It's not the same avenues anymore.
No. But the good thing is the avenues are expanding.
Yeah. No, none of them are getting closed previously, but it's also, I mean, besides like you said, like phone books and stuff. But like over time, like nothing is like, people are still using organic web search, but like as we're talking about like with the ChatGPT one, I was shocked by this, the actual like method. Because when you hear a 7,000 ChatGPT lead, it sounds like, oh, like you got a lead from something written by ChatGPT. But this was literally, I mean, I'll let you tell it, but it was literally on ChatGPT.
Yep. So I always check in with clients. I'm like, hey, what leads are you getting? Like, I need to know. Like, I saw a conversion come through because we have conversion settings set up. And it's like, hey, I saw that conversion come through. Like, who was that?
You have to ask.
Like, who was that? What is going on? Like, you have to ask because clients just don't tell you. It's very annoying to me. It's like, oh, wait, you got 4 leads last week and you didn't tell me about any of them? Like, why not? Like, are you afraid I'm going to
offhand?
Yeah, like, are you afraid I'm going to increase your bill? Like, no, just tell me. I need to know, you know? So anyway, I saw a conversion through, and this was actually at Alltech. And I was talking to Colin. I love Colin. And he's an account manager. You've heard me talk about him. He's been on the podcast. And he's like, oh, yeah, we're dealing with X company, you know, really great lead. You know, if we close it, which is looking really good, it's going to be $7,000 a month and reoccurring revenue plus a bunch of projects because blah, blah, blah. I'm like, awesome. So that came through the website. Did you ask specifically, as I always do, how they heard about Alltech? And he said, yeah. He said ChatGPT. And I was like, really? Like, I've seen ChatGPT leads come through, usually smaller. I've never seen a $7,000 a month lead come through ChatGPT. And he said, yeah, came through ChatGPT. He searched in ChatGPT. I'm looking for an IT provider in I don't know if he said Lakeland or Polk County or Plant City or whatever. I should have asked specifically. And Alltech was on that list. He then looked and saw we had most reviews out of everybody on that list. They checked out our website, which we just cut over, the Alltech new website. We just cut it over. So, you know, if you've seen Alltech's old site, I recommend looking at what we've just done. What we've just done looks amazing. I'm super happy with it. A lot of other changes we're making to it, but it's a really good foundation. And boom, he reached out.
Yeah. And I was able to replicate it as well. Because, I mean, with any of those things, it's like, let's try to replicate that. It used to happen with organic search a lot. It's like, oh, like somebody will say, oh, I'm ranking on the first page of Google. But then you check and they're not because it's just like kind of pandering to their
if
search.
they don't do incognito mode, they're just like, oh, we know you're looking for this company. That happens all the time. People I rank number 1 on this page. It's like, actually, you don't. You have to look at Search Console, incognito way. You know, you really
They'll put your company because it's your company. Yeah. But I texted in there. I just did the like, give me the top Lakeland IT providers, and it drops it in there super quick, and it's basically just the map pack from Google pulled and imported in there. And because Alltech had the most reviews, this is another way for us to talk about reviews again. And the map pack, I mean, they were the first one on there. I mean, if somebody just scrolling through top IT providers in Lakeland, Alltech services, picture pops up, the pictures from the Google, 5 stars with X amount of reviews, like it's strong, and it's an avenue like I'd never heard of before. So, but it's really compelling if you think about it.
100%. And so sometimes it just literally pulls the map pack in Steven's case, and other times it doesn't do that. It gets the text response.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it actually changes depending on the exact verbiage you use when you ask. But either way, Alltech was at the top every time. We're starting to look at our clients. Where are they ranking on this? And our goal is to get them even higher in ChatGPT. Why am I going so hard on this? Let's take a pause. 6 months ago, the thought of someone using ChatGPT to find an IT provider would have been so foreign. I've literally seen Kevin Clune, who's been on the podcast, wrote an article. Please read this article. It's beautiful on like AI for finding local IT providers, what he asked, how it showed up. It's great. And a lot of the comments, reasonably, I'm not even getting mad at anybody for saying this, reasonably was like, yeah, but who the hell is using ChatGPT to find an IT
for that
provider?
big of a decision?
For that big of a decision. That happened. That was the response by quite a few people. And again, justified. I was like, I kind of hear what you're saying. Well, here we are 6 months later, maybe even a little less than 6 months. Alltech isn't the first client that's gotten a lead from ChatGPT. So it's important to understand the different avenues that MSPs are being found online. Now, we're going to get into how does ChatGPT rank. Don't worry, we're going to get into the specifics there in a second. I just want to harp a little bit more on a couple other examples, and then we're going to get into those specifics. So don't worry. If you're here for the specifics, they are coming. Another client got a lead from a Reddit local forum. Reddit is now, when you search most things, Reddit's one of the first things Google shows because this is how I know things are going to take off. I call it my Lindsay index. Anytime my wife starts to get involved in something, I know that thing's about to take off.
Oh, really? So like now she'll Google and go to the Reddit threads first kind of thing when she's searching for something? Yeah.
Exactly. So it's the Lindsay index. Like I've been on Reddit. I just got my 12-year cake day last week. So I've been on it for 12 years, right? But 2 years ago, Lindsay started asking the question and then putting Reddit at the end. That's how I knew. Do that now, oh yeah. That's how I knew Reddit was about to take off, and sure enough, it has. Right. So there's a couple of things on the Lindsay index. Like I remember when she was really all of a sudden getting super engaged in Pinterest. I bought a bunch of Pinterest stock and made a bunch of money because it's like the Lindsay index. Like she is the last. Nothing bad about Lindsay. She's not technical. She's not that. She doesn't care that much about mainstream stuff. So it's like, okay, when Lindsay catches on, okay, things are about to go mainstream. Right. So I say that to say, like, even Reddit now is such a wonderful way for MSPs to be heard. Like MSP Camp has grown a ton.
It was one of the early avenues I think we used for the podcast in general, right?
That's how this
I bet
podcast
a lot of
got
listeners
started.
Came from there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's important to understand there's so many ways now to build our digital word of mouth that we can't just be thinking about Google.
Yep.
We can no longer just be thinking about Google. Now, don't get me wrong. Google is not dead. Google search is not dead. It's not going to be for many, 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 many years. So stop listening to the naysayers that say SEO is dead. SEO has been dead 15 times the last 15 years. Don't listen to the bullshit. People are making so much money by their building their digital word of mouth. I don't care if you call it SEO, SEM, digital word of mouth. I don't care what you call it. As long as you're creating local content that is compelling, no matter what the search engine is, it's going to pick up on it and show you're going to be rewarded.
Yeah. And it'll be dead again next week anyway. So like, it's just going to keep being dead. So, but it doesn't change the results. Yeah. I mean, even if you don't believe that the SEO is going to increase, like you should be posting local content that targets stuff for your MSP. Like you need to be doing it and you will be rewarded by the search engine you use.
Yep, exactly.
And ChatGPT now.
Yep. So that is why we go so hard on the digital word of mouth. It's kind of what we called it with that first episode. And I just like that. And I've been calling it ever since because it's like, that's what it is. word of mouth is so powerful, referrals, so is the digital word of mouth. It's exponentially more powerful because more people can see it quicker.
Yeah. Well, and especially Reddit too, because it's just, I mean, I guess it also applies to Google, but like somebody replies like on a thread, maybe 20 comments. One of them is no fluff MSP marketing, gets like 8 likes or something. Even if it's just that small thing, like somebody Googling like MSP podcast, like they're going to keep jumping into that. So even if they don't like even have a Reddit account or something, they can still view that and say, oh, I'll check out this one.
Yeah.
So it really is just like, you're kind of just like lasting on the internet as long as it's a good thing, right?
Yep. Like, why have we started doing video now too, right? Like, we've been doing this podcast for a long time. Why in the last, like, really 30 episodes have we also been doing video? Because there's a different segment of the market that likes to consume video over podcast. Requires very little additional effort from us, but now our digital word of mouth expands. We're already creating the content. Like, let's put it in multiple places.
Yeah.
And then in the future, we're actually going to have turned those into short form. I'm not ready to invest in that yet, which is why we haven't done it. Because that requires a dedicated, it's not full-time individual, but it's that extra work. But don't get me wrong, we're going to get there.
Because it's a whole nother
where we have LinkedIn Reels, we are with LinkedIn Shorts, and then we have Instagram Reels, and we have Facebook Reels, and we have these in LinkedIn vertical videos with the editing. Like, all of that is coming because it's additional avenues of building that digital word of mouth. So to summarize everything we just talked about in this first section of this episode, it's this. Almost all of the digital word of mouth, the SEO, the SEM, the ChatGPT, the Reddit, almost all of it comes down to 2 things. Meeting real people, either in person or digitally, and creating or using standout content.
That's a big part. Standout.
Oh,
yeah, that's the action word right there.
Those are the 2 things. Meeting real people, creating and using standout content.
Yeah, that's a recipe.
That's the recipe. Like, if you just had to boil it down, like, well, how do I rank and how do I get good at this and how do I do that? Meet real people so they care about what you're doing. Meet real people, whether you're digitally talking to them, whether you're meeting them in person for coffee, as we talked about with Andrew Moon, whatever it is, you're meeting real people so more people care about you and your sphere of influence grows. And then you have to create compelling content or use content like MSP Camp or on any other provider that provides good content. Consistently use high quality content so those people see and know what you're doing and can refer you easier, and your digital word of mouth grows. You're constantly putting content on your website. You're updating your website with the latest services. You are making sure that you are constantly creating compelling content in your local market and you're meeting real people. And I promise you with 100% certainty, over time, that ROI is going to be insane.
Yep. And I mean, like you're saying, oh, sorry, I didn't want to.
No,
I was thinking like with that too, like I think you have these like ChatGPT, Google, like these things are working great, but a static site kills that, or like static marketing kills it. And I know we've talked about that before too, but like, I don't think that Alltech, if we weren't updating the site, we weren't adding new pages, all that stuff, like I don't think it would have ranked it.
No.
Just based off, I mean, if we stopped getting reviews, eventually another MSP is going to get more reviews than us, and now they're the top one on there.
Yep.
And it really is a kind of thing, I think, especially with the map pack and lists like that, like people might look at the first 2, maybe 3, but they usually, if I'm looking at a list, it's not a good thing, but like you'll tune out those lower ones, even if they're just disqualified because they're listed tiered lower.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, static equals sadness. Sorry.
No, it's true. That's the name of the episode.
And here's a good way of the digital word of mouth. So I have a decent audience on Instagram. I think I've got 900 people following me on Instagram or whatever.
You're a celebrity, man.
And what's that?
You're a celebrity.
Yeah, I mean 900 full humans.
Hey, that's 900 people.
And here's how this works, right? Like, people know I'm really into jujitsu. People know. Yeah, I know, right?
No way.
People know I own a business. People know I love marketing. People know I'm creative because I write books for my son and everything else. People now know I love Pokemon cards with my son, right? Why do they know all of this about me? Because I'm creating content around those 5 categories of my life. I'm intentionally creating content around those 5 categories in my life. So categorize your own life. If you're sharing on LinkedIn, what are the categories? Maybe leadership, maybe being a father, maybe, work realities and like I share on LinkedIn quite a bit, the grind of starting a new business, and it's not all rainbows and butterflies. I think people like that raw reality, right? So what are the categories you can share content on? It makes it very easy to create content. So, it's funny. I'm constantly getting people sending me Pokemon things now.
That was funny.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I've informed my audience, my center of influences, that this is something I'm now into. And if you have something that you can share with me around this, I'm going to be interested. Imagine if I wasn't sharing Pokemon content and then someone sent me a Pokemon thing. Would that ever happen?
Because why would they know?
Why would they do that?
Exactly.
I'm a 32-year-old man. They would never think I'm into Pokemon, right? But because I share that content, they're like, oh, okay, cool. I can now refer you Pokemon content. It's the same. It's the exact same thing. I know we're talking about Pokemon here. It's the exact same thing.
Marketing is Pokemon.
I'll never forget. I know I've told this story. Marketing is Pokemon. I'll never forget this story, and it's so important. That's why I've told it so many times. When I started marketing for Alltech Services, all of a sudden, Tom started getting more referrals. And at first, he was like, "Oh, it's just referrals. It's like not marketing, it's referrals." Like, this is Lisa. I've known Lisa my whole life.
I like that your Tom voice is the Moose voice from the new course.
Oh no, sorry, Tom.
Coming soon, course.
And it's like, and I remember meeting with Lisa, and this is when it clicked. She's like, "I had no idea that's what Tom Bowles did." And then I started seeing that video, and then I saw the other video, and then now this is an old Jewish woman, and then she was like. No, she's not. I don't know. But that's the voice I did for some reason.
You should do a podcast where you're just both voices. And you do different impressions. Yeah.
And it's so like my point is, yeah, he's known her for a long time. He's been friends with her for a long time. He's been connected with LinkedIn and Facebook with her for a long time. And guess what? She didn't know shit about what he did for his work.
And fair enough if you don't,
100%.
output that
it's not his fault. It's not her fault.
Life.
But as soon as we started marketing where we could educate and build that digital word of mouth, now she knows. Now she reached out. Now we closed a $3,000 a month client. So as search changes, as SEO changes, what we need to keep in mind is connecting with real people and creating compelling content that answers questions, which is great for search, but also just interesting, engaging so people gravitate towards us. Inbound is creating your magnet, which is primarily content. So let's get into some specifics. And why I want to do this is because I had somebody who was naysaying, and that's fine. I don't blame them, right? I do not blame them. But they said, oh, what happens is that ChatGPT just randomly selects businesses in the area and displays them. And I got to be honest, I wasn't well versed enough in ChatGPT to know why does she always recommend Alltech? Mm-hmm. And why does she recommend our clients all the time? Like, what is it? So instead of trying to stress out about it, what we're going to do is we're going to ask her, hey.
Hey there, what's on your mind today?
So the other day, I asked about IT providers in Lakeland because I needed a recommendation. You provided a wonderful list that was super helpful. Can you help me identify how you came up with that list? And did the SEO efforts for that business, come into effect when you provided that list at all? Can you just kind of break down what criteria you used to provide that list?
I'm glad you found the recommendations helpful. When I provided that list of IT providers, I used the information available online, including reviews, ratings, and relevance. The SEO efforts of those businesses might have played a role in how easily they were found, as well-optimized websites tend to rank higher and appear more prominently in search results. Generally, I look for businesses with good reputations and relevant services to match your needs. If you have any other questions about it, feel free to ask.
So specifically, how important are those Google reviews to your list?
Google reviews are quite important. They provide insight into customer satisfaction and help gauge the reliability and quality of services. When businesses have positive reviews, it often reflects well on their reputation and can influence their ranking in search results, making them more visible and trustworthy to potential customers. So they do play a significant role in the recommendations.
The recommendations that you gave, because you mentioned how it ranked on search, but I just want to be specific. Is that influence how you provide that list to somebody searching?
Yes, the ranking in search results does influence the recommendations I provide. When businesses appear higher in search results, it typically indicates strong SEO, relevance, and often good reviews, which makes them more likely to be reliable and relevant to your needs. However, I also consider other factors like the quality of services offered. and whether they match your specific requirements. So good SEO and positive reviews can definitely help a business stand out in those recommendations.
If an IT company was going to start doing SEO today for the first time, and primarily, what are some of the top highest priority items for them to work on that they can get maximum value without, too much work? Think the Pareto principle. What is 80% of the value that requires 20% of the work within SEO? Can you give them a hit list of things they should focus on?
Absolutely. Here's a hit list of high priority SEO tasks that can deliver significant value for an IT company starting out. 1. Google My Business. Set up and optimize your Google My Business profile. This boosts local visibility. 2. On-page SEO. Optimize your website's meta titles, descriptions, and headers with relevant keywords. 3. Content creation. Develop valuable content that addresses common IT issues and solutions, positioning your company as an expert. 4. Backlinks. Focus on gaining quality backlinks from reputable sites in your industry. 5. Mobile optimization. Ensure your website is mobile friendly for a better user experience and higher search rankings. 6. Page speed. Improve your website's loading speed as faster sites rank better on search engines. Focusing on these areas can provide a solid foundation for your SEO efforts and maximize returns with relatively less work.
Thank you for that. Have I ever told you how much I appreciate you?
You're very welcome. Hearing that means a lot. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to help. If there's anything else you need, just let me know.
Preach.
Tell her sucking up for when AI takes over.
I'm not saying that just for when you guys take over the world. I actually really mean it. All right, cool. So they won't kill me. That's good.
Thank you, ChatGPT, special guest. I've been replaced now.
Yeah, so ChatGPT is the new Steven.
Always says exactly what we need. Yeah.
Chat-taw her.
No.
Sorry, Steven, you're out.
Damn it.
So that's why I just went to the source. That the people are like, oh, it doesn't matter. Your SEO doesn't matter. SEO's dead. SEO's dead. Again. And then it's like, cool, why don't we just ask ChatGPT? Because ChatGPT is the one that provides the recommendations.
Yeah, so
how did you come up with that? And sure enough, it's how you ranked on Google, but it wasn't just how you ranked on Google. It was how you ranked on Google, right? It was your reviews. I mean, she talked about reviews more than she did content.
Yeah. Content was in there, though.
Oh, and content was absolutely in there because we have so much content on Alltech teaching ChatGPT what we do that when that question is asked, she's like, well, I know I can confidently suggest this company. So my point isn't saying let's change everything to focus on ChatGPT. That is not the point of this conversation. The point of this conversation is the efforts you put into your website and the content you put on there and getting it to rank will pay dividends even in the world of AI search, which is growing rapidly.
Yep. It was the same stuff that was working for Google. It's not, if you were doing those things great for Google, Google would reward you for it. It's the same with ChatGPT, but I mean, it is putting in that work to make sure you're hitting those things. Google My Business, I think, is often left on the wayside, but businesses, because oh, my website's fine. Yeah. But if you're Google My Business, I'm sure ChatGPT is checking you're tagged as a managed service provider in these industries and you have the different pages about these industries on your site. Mm-hmm. That's going to boost your, credibility a ton.
Yep.
But if you don't even do that piece, that was a really good list actually from ChatGPT. I'm always kind of skeptical, but mobile speed or mobile pages, page speed.
And what's funny is the things she listed, that is exactly what we focus on with our SEO service. We don't go too far in the weeds.
Yeah.
Those are the things we work on because that's 80% of the value of the SEO. Can I get 20% more value by doing all this other stuff? Sure. But then I got to charge more.
A lot more time.
And it's going to take way more time. Yeah. It's let's just focus on the thing that I know has driven the needle for every MSP we've ever supported. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And so here's the other thing I hear all the time. We can't just optimize for Google. I hear that all the we can't just optimize for Google. Bing is growing. It's cool.
I haven't heard that one before.
Oh my God, dude. Marketing people just love saying things because they want to be different. I see it all the time. They're like, well, what about Bing? And it's look, do a search on Google, then do a search on Bing and compare it. That could answer your question right there. They're the same results pretty much.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same results.
Because Bing is rewarding the same stuff that Google is. It's rewarding
the same thing. So it's SEO should not be about Google. Google My Business should be about Google because that's still 85% of local search. But The content you create on your site, the title you use, the meta description you use, the content on the page, Bing, Google, DuckDuckGo, ChatGPT, whatever, they're all looking at the same information and deciding the quality of it. So the effort you put into SEO is not lost. SEO is not dead, and let's keep moving forward. Let's stop finding excuses not to market our business.
Well said.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's people want to find a reason not to do something because it's dead, or one of their friends who dipped their toe in it said it doesn't work.
Yeah, with way too small of a sample size, almost always. Yeah.
There's always a reason not to market our business, but there's always a much bigger reason to market it. And that's what we need to focus on. SEO is not dead. It's fine. Let's take a second here before we wrap up. Think about the last 5 businesses you started working with. Like, let's take a minute. Think about it. The last 5 businesses you started working with. If you're at your desk right now, literally, I want you to write these 5 down.
Yeah, take a note. Open Notepad. Do something. Yeah.
And if you're driving, I know a lot of people listen to us on 2x speed. Like, slow it down to 0.5.
If you're driving, whip out your Notepad.
Maybe when you're
on the interstate.
Oh, you don't have a Tesla? Just kidding. So just take a second. Think about it. Think about it. Let's just take a minute. Okay. The point of this exercise is for you to write those 5 businesses and how you found them. And my point isn't to tell you how you found them, because each person is different. And so you might have found all 5 of the last businesses you worked on by going to a conference. Mm-hmm. You might have found 2 from a Google search. You might have found 5 from somebody you know telling you. You might have saw something on LinkedIn. There's such a huge pool of ways people find businesses, especially in business to business, that there's no telling. But that should give you some ideas about how you're finding people. You're your target market. We're businesses, oftentimes hiring businesses. So like we're our target market. Mm-hmm. And that's a serious advantage. But I can almost guarantee of those 5, I can almost guarantee there is one psychic card reading I'm about to give you right now, right? For all 5 of those, or most of them, there was some type of association. You work with this company, I know and trust you, so this company is instantly vetted. That's why referrals are so powerful. That's why they're so ready to close. So for all 5 of those, it's you saw a business, you asked somebody, hey, is anybody using this? Mm-hmm. Or you went to the site and you saw that they were working with X number of MSPs already. Or you were on Reddit and you saw someone saying they're great or sucks. Or your peer group mentioned it. Or you saw an ad and then you further looked into the company and saw that they had really good reviews by people you know, like, and trust, or just generally people in your vertical. There was some association that happened before you purchased, most likely. Mm-hmm. Most likely. You either checked on them, you either looked at the reviews, you either checked on their site to make sure they were legitimate. Some type of association occurred before you made a buying decision. It wasn't just the salesperson walking you through and closing the deal. It's not like you got a cold call, you got a call with the salesperson, you didn't Google them, you didn't look up any of the reviews, you didn't check with your peers, and you just bought the thing. Maybe awesome, you did, and that's fine. Maybe you did. I just know based on my buying decisions and the MSPs that buy MSP Camp and the prospects I was selling to when I was at the MSP, associations seriously built that buying confidence.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's why so much of the content in MSP Camp has a section where you plug in clients,
yes, from the vertical, yeah.
Clients that you work with in that vertical, testimonials from that in the telemarketing script. So like when they get that call, when they get that direct mail, when they see that ad and they see another business they're familiar with, easy to do in a local market.
Yep.
Trust goes up like crazy and your marketing piece becomes significantly more impactful.
It puts them at ease. Yeah. I mean, if you're calling with somebody like, because anybody can be like, oh, I'm a local company. But if you name a local business 10 minutes down the road from them, yeah, it's going to work. And they're going to say, oh, like you're part of the community, that sort of thing. It's really strong. I'm glad that you added that in there because I mean, that's always been our intention with putting those into the, especially direct mail pieces too.
Yeah. Yeah, because direct mail, you really got to build some association.
Yep.
That's why, right? That's why every fucking time you get somebody knocking on your door now, every time, someone knocks on the door and you answer it, what do they say? You're in an apartment, so you probably don't get this.
No.
What do they say every time? For anyone in a house, what do they say every time? We're doing work on your neighbor's yard. We're doing work on your neighbor's lawn. We're doing construction on your neighbor's house. We're in the neighborhood doing construction and wanted to stop by to see if you also need the shit that I'm selling.
Yeah.
It's a lie. It's a lie. Maybe it's not a lie. Maybe actually part of their marketing is like, okay, when they're doing work in this neighborhood to say that. But
gotcha.
I doubt it. I think that's just a line. Why do they say the line? It builds the association with that person. It builds the trust right away. And it's more likely they've shown based on the statistics that you're going to be able to set the appointment with that cold door knock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My neighbor Jim loves his yard work and that kind of thing. Yeah. And they might not even like give you a name. You're just like, oh, you in my neighborhood. I love my neighborhood. You must do good work.
Yeah. Like neighbor, I trust my neighborhood, right? I mean, that's what happens every time. Even in direct mail now when we get them, it's like, oh, we're doing work for blah, 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 right down the street. Please call this. They make it handwriting, so it's personal, right? That is why. So to summarize this entire episode, I know we went in a couple different directions, but it's all the main theme of building trust, creating content, meeting real people. No matter what happens with SEO, as long as you're building that word of mouth and that digital word of mouth at the same time, it doesn't matter what happens next. You will be the one eating the biggest piece of the pie. Search is changing. But if you build a company with a great digital reputation, consistently teach algorithms what you do and why, and use or create compelling content that teach clients, friends, past prospects, and center of influences what you do. Congratulations, you're building an inbound machine that will pay for itself over and over and over again. And that is a hill I will die on. That is a hill I will die on. I mean, I hope I don't have to. But I mean, it's what we've been preaching since the beginning of this podcast. It is no matter. And I think the reason I just want to hit on this is because that $7,000 lead came in from ChatGPT. Everyone's so freaking out about AI changing the world. Well, guess what? All those foundations that we've been preaching since the beginning of this podcast is why they're getting those extra leads in different avenues.
Yeah, no, it's nice to sit there and hear ChatGPT list the stuff because it's like, oh, we've been doing this stuff. Like, there wasn't something there where we were like, oh shit, we need to be doing that.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
It's the same pieces from years ago too. It's like, and like other pieces are added to it, but like that foundation that needed to be built 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago when we started this podcast? How long has it been?
Over two.
Oh my gosh.
Almost 3 years ago.
Having a crisis.
Yeah.
But 2 years ago when we were talking about these same things, like now it still applies. Like that foundation is always going to be held by algorithms.
Yeah. Now, is it work?
Absolutely.
Does it take time? Does it take a strategy? Does it take being intentional? Totally. That's why we rank him over everybody, because we're willing to put that effort in.
Yeah. And it's not like, especially when I've seen like SEO stuff, like it's not like super fun, like having to go and get keywords and stuff like that. So a lot of people will think like, oh, like time to get keywords on, and they'll go in and add one and be like, oh, I have to do this for my other pages, that kind of stuff, and then bounce off of it. But I feel like once you get through that initial like, oh, I don't want to be doing this for every page of my site, and you just start doing it, it becomes exponentially easier.
Yeah.
Like it's just breaking through that first barrier of like, oh, I don't want to do this. I want to do the role I like at my job. Everybody wants to do the role when I like your job. But like this has been proven to always continue to provide results legitimately in this circumstance for $7,000. I mean, that's a great lead.
And when they close that, which they will, because again, they didn't just take the ChatGPT lead and call.
Yeah.
What did they do? They started researching. They looked at the beautiful website. They saw the faces of our teammates. They looked at their review. They knew the person in the review. So by the time they reached out, they were warmer than if it was a cold call or just a direct mail or just a cold email, right?
Just so hard to close on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure they're going to close it. When they do, we've paid for ourselves 3 times over. Now, we've already paid for ourselves, I think, like 10 times over since we split off. But now an additional 3 times
But who's
over.
counting? Yeah.
But who's counting me for sure? So anyway, I know this was kind of a long one. It's just so important that we understand, like, this shit works. Like, I promise it works. I know we want to just click the add button and then just like get a bunch of leads all the time. But it's like the add button doesn't work if you don't have a foundation. Like
if the ads aren't leading anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. If you never put emphasis on your website, if your website can't convert inbound right now as is, ads aren't going to help it convert either.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just an important thing to think about. Yeah, things are changing, but the foundations are still the foundations. They always have been and they always will.
Yep. So don't get discouraged. Just build the foundation.
Build the foundation. And speaking of ads, a little foreshadowing. We talked really hard, obviously, on SEO and organic and inbound on this episode. And so next episode, we're going to go pretty hard on advertising because that is another important piece to the mix. Cool. Anything else before we wrap up, Steven?
Oh, good. Was this a long one? How long did we clock in at?
I don't know. 37. That's not bad.
Too bad. Yeah.
That's not bad.
Well, thanks for sticking with us anyway.
Yeah.
I like this episode. I like the kind of segments of it. Yeah. ChatGPT on.
Yeah, she was a great guest.
Yeah.
Great guest. Don't kill me. You are great. I love our AI overlords.
Me too. Sounds like AI.
You're trying to turn into a robot. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that was helpful. Thank you for tuning in. Share the podcast. Review the podcast. Please.
We're begging.
That's my call to action, actually.
Challenge
I
of the
actually do
week.
have a call to action. If, like, if you made it through this episode of us rambling for this long, and you're like, you know what? I actually like these guys. Can you just leave me a 5-star review? Leave us a 5-star. Leave Stalker a 5-star review.
Leave
Like,
Stalker a 5-star review.
Go to Spotify or go to Apple. Leave a 5-star review.
Because we check pretty frequently.
And share it.
Well,
Like, if
that's
you're
it.
enjoying it, like, share the podcast. Like, we've been at around 400, 500 listeners consistently for like a year, which is great. But like, let's get those numbers up. Help a brother out, right? Help a brothers out. And so share it,
Plural, yeah.
you know, and we would really appreciate it. If not, we still appreciate you, but
Yeah.
that would provide additional appreciation, like how much we have for ChatGPT. Well, not that much. Not
Steve
that
Allen.
much. All right, y'all. Have a great one.
Yep. See you
We'll
guys.
see you on the next one.
Thanks for watching and listening.